Move to this story. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy will face questions in the Commons today after the accidental release of the migrant sex offender Hadush Kebatu. This is on Friday, of course. Hadush has since been rearrested and is set to be deported. It also emerged that this type of mistake is not unique, with a staggering 262 prisoners being accidentally released in England and Wales between April 2024 and March 2025. Let's get a word from Sam Samworth, former prison officer and host of the Real Porridge podcast. Always good to have you on, Sam. I mean, the interesting thing about this guy is that not only was he was released in error, I mean, he didn't escape. He then kept knocking on the prison door saying, well, apparently I'm being deported. Where do I go? And they said, well, just go to the train station. I mean, this was a catalogue of errors. Somebody's responsible.
Ian, firstly, you know, the public obviously are outraged, and so they should be. However, let's not forget thousands of intentional releases of dangerous prisoners that this government authorised.
100%. Yeah?
So let's get on to this guy. What I can't understand about him, Ian, is easily recognisable. I recognise him, lots of people do. The process is, before your release, you'll be interviewed by a manager. They'll go through your licence, terms and conditions, what you can do, what you can't. That might well be on the day, but it's usually the day before.
Yeah.
Somebody takes him to reception. Again, he must be recognised within that prison. Yeah, and somebody should have questioned that. However, the problem is now there's a lack of experience in prison. Reception is an incredibly busy place. You get lots of property, lots of traffic in and out. And it used to be that experienced people worked in there. You do your time on the landings and then you'd apply for a job in reception. Yeah, so incredibly experienced staff knew what they were doing. There's a lot of paperwork. You know, there's people on computers all the time, booking things in, booking people out. Warrants to keep people in jail. You just don't lock someone up. There's paperwork. And then there's release. But not just one guy is responsible for this.
I'm sure. But you'd think somewhere on the paperwork it would have said deportation, if that was where the error lied. And I don't know, Sam, I'm sure you know more about this, but if you're earmarked for deportation, I'm assuming you don't just walk out the prison as you would do if you were just being released.
Right, let me tell you now, I do know quite a bit about this, Ian. There's lads who were earmarked for deportation, they have a release date. They come
Sam.
Here's a landing officer, I'm out today. Sorry, you're for deportation. We keep them 6, yeah?
Yep.
Come again, Ian.
No, you cut out just as you were explaining.
Right, okay.
You said, I know a lot about deportation, and then we lost you.
Okay, a lot about deportation. There were lads who were earmarked for deportation. They have a release date. They come to us with a letter, I'm out, boss. Sorry, deportation. We keep them 6 months, no warrant to keep them in prison. Then somebody come, release them, just like that. Lots earmarked for deportation just got released back into communities.
Wow. And you sort of imagine that, you know, a fella from the Home Office turns up in a taxi and a pair of handcuffs and takes them to Heathrow.
Would you believe that some of these lads are given a taxi fare? The taxi's ordered and they get in it on their own.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So if you're earmarked in for deportation, I've ordered your taxi, give you a taxi fare. Are you going to a detention centre? You're not, are you?
Of course you're not. I suppose with this particular prisoner, he was earmarked for deportation, just not yet. That's the problem.
Listen, there's a lot of gaslighting going on, mate. The whole deportation thing for me is a big scam. It's as though this government and the previous seem to be doing things. It's not happening, let me tell you now. Lots and lots of these people earmarked for deportation don't get deported. And let's not forget, again, we like to highlight this, how many people, like this lad who was released and the big outcry, which I understand, how many haven't gone to prison who have committed far more serious offences than him?
100%.
The whole system, for me, pun intended, is screwed.
Yeah, indeed. And you saw this in your prison career where from what you're telling us, Sam, and we have spoken before, I know, this has gradually got worse and worse. Would that be a fair assessment?
The staffing issues right now, I can tell you, Ian. People message me all the time. Prison officers cannot strike. Yeah, there's a no strike clause.
Yeah.
However, it's getting to the point now, it's that serious, the lack of staff, that what we're going to see, prison officers retreating to a safe place. And let me tell you now, the only safe place now for prison officers is outside the main gate. That's not strike, that's looking at the situation, the staffing levels, the level of threat, danger, violence and everything else, and prison staff removing themselves from that scenario by leaving the prison. It's going to happen, mate, and once it starts, I think it'll just escalate.
What is the, I mean, the obvious or the short answer, Sam, is we need more prison officers, but there must be a good reason why, you know, people aren't going into that profession. When I was a kid, it was one of those jobs that, you know, I assumed, I had no difficulty understanding it was probably a tricky job. And I remember watching that Strange Ways documentary. You might remember it from years ago.
Yeah, it was an early one, yeah.
Yeah, and I knew it was a challenging job, but I always thought it was a good job. What's happened?
Nobody is looking at recruitment. You need proper recruitment. You need to recruit the right people. Go back to old-fashioned job interviews, people who can communicate, people with life experiences. That's what you need. Like the old army adverts, remember the ones that are probably not PC from the 80s, where they're like climbing down rocks and that sort of thing. It's a rough, tough job now. There will be people that go in, but they're not enticing them in. They're not looking for people. I mean, the easy outlet is sort of these foreign national prisoners from the Commonwealth, prison officers, sorry, that they've been recruiting who don't speak English and the like. Amongst them, there'll probably be people who make good prison officers. But are we really that desperate in this country that we need to go to the Commonwealth and recruit non-English speaking staff?
That's extraordinary that we've got to that. I mean, you know, there's a certain type, I would imagine, that could handle the job. I know over the years, you know, they've probably, perhaps the government, maybe you could tell me more on this, Sam, have decided we need to have a different face of prison officers, which you can see the dangers in that kind of that approach. You know, it was a time when prison officers looked like you or Ronnie Thompson or someone like that who could, you know, handle themselves on C Wing.
Right, okay. So it takes all sorts, yeah. I've worked with some fantastic people with no presence, great communication skills and that sort of thing. They used to look to the army. The prison service, while I was still in, that's private and public, Sarah Polchin, advertisements were everybody and everybody other than white males. I would think the biggest population in this country, in the United Kingdom, that you could recruit from would be white males. So why would you exclude them from advertisements? It's about proportional representation, isn't it? It's like the army. Okay, the prison service had a bad reputation, violent, brutal. There was a lot of military. That don't mean everyone who come from the military was a violent, brutal prison.
Yeah.
As an officer, I work with some amazing ex-forces. So maybe we need to go back to them. But they need to sit down and come up with an advertising campaign, a national one. Let's look at people, past life experiences, not qualifications. The best qualification is experience and communication, mate.
Yeah, spot on. And you need heaps of that, of course, in that profession. Sam, it's always brilliant to have you on with us. I would urge people to check out your podcast as well, the Real Porridge Podcast. That is Sam Samworth, can't forget that name, former prison officer and the host of the Real Porridge Podcast. Thank you to him. Let's go to